Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into a really big topic today, the causes of loss of biodiversity. If you've ever wondered why certain plants and animals are disappearing, and more importantly, what we can actually do to stop it, well, you're in the right place. Let's get right into it.
Before we get into the heavy stuff, though, I want you to just stop and think for a second. What makes our Earth so colorful and full of life? Think about your absolute favorite animal, or the tallest tree you've ever seen, or even those tiny bugs buzzing around your yard. Our planet isn't just some boring rock floating in space. It's a shared home, completely packed with an amazing variety of life.
And that massive variety actually has a name. We call it biodiversity. It basically means all the plants, animals, fungi, and even the tiny microorganisms living on Earth. A healthy ecosystem, which is just the neighborhood where all these living things interact, needs a bunch of different species to work right. Think of it kind of like a giant sports team. Every single player has a very specific job, right? If one player goes missing, the whole team is going to struggle.
When we look at the big picture, it's pretty clear that human activities are the main things harming nature right now. We're talking about things like destroying habitats, causing pollution, and climate change, all things that make species disappear. But hey, don't worry about memorizing all that right now. We're going to break it down step by step so it all makes perfect sense.
But really quick, let's just make sure we've got the basics down. What exactly does biodiversity mean again? Yep, it's the huge variety of life on Earth. All those plants, animals, and organisms working together to keep our planet going.
Okay, so why are we losing this amazing variety? Well, the number one cause is habitat destruction. Just imagine if someone showed up and suddenly bulldozed your house. Where would you go? That's literally what's happening to wildlife. Huge forests are being cut down for wood. Wetlands are being drained dry, and grasslands, they're getting plowed over to build massive farms and cities. When that happens, animals completely lose their food, their shelter, and their safe places to live.
And that leads us right into the next issue, which is habitat fragmentation. Now, fragmentation is a pretty big word, but it really just means breaking things up into smaller pieces. Imagine you're a tiny animal trying to cross a giant, busy highway. When we build roads or buildings right through the middle of a forest, animals get trapped in these really small spaces. Over time, those isolated groups get weaker because they can't move around safely to find food. And sadly, some of those species just end up disappearing.
This is really closely tied to urbanization. As the human population gets bigger, our cities grow larger too. Concrete buildings and streets end up replacing what used to be green, natural habitats. That leaves wildlife with less and less space. Plus, having way more people in one area puts a lot more pressure on nature to provide things like water and land.
All right, time for a quick pop quiz. Based on what we just talked about, why are forests and natural habitats so incredibly important for animals? Well, it's because they provide the food, the shelter, and the safe spaces that animals absolutely need to survive.
Let's move on to another major cause. This one is called overexploitation. Basically, this happens when humans take way too much from nature, way too fast. We're talking about too much hunting, overfishing our oceans, or collecting too many wild plants. If we take these living things faster than they can reproduce and grow back, their populations just crash. Did you know that pulling too many fish out of the ocean actually starves land animals like bears and birds that need them for food? It's a huge reason why so many species are endangered today.
We also see a similar problem in farming with something called overgrazing. This is when too many farm animals, like cows or sheep, are kept in one spot and they eat the grass right down to the roots. The plants just can't grow back fast enough. And without those roots holding the ground together, the soil gets super dry, weak, and can literally blow away in the wind. This can actually cause dry, empty desert areas to spread out even further.
Then we have wildfires. Now, while some fires are totally natural, a lot of them are caused by humans these days. These fires completely destroy forests, forcing animals to run for their lives and lose their homes in an instant. The intense heat also damages the soil, making it really hard for anything new to grow. Nature is super tough, but after a massive fire, it takes many, many years for it to fully recover.
And speaking of hot, dry conditions, we really have to talk about climate change. As the Earth gets warmer, habitats are changing faster than ever. This extra heat makes natural disasters like droughts, floods, storms, and those wildfires we just mentioned so much stronger. Animals and plants are used to a very specific type of weather, so when the climate changes this fast, a lot of species just can't adapt quickly enough to survive.
Let's pause and try to connect the dots here. How do human actions like overgrazing combine with climate change to hurt animals and the soil? Think about it. If humans are removing the grass, and climate change is bringing worse droughts, the soil dries up super fast. So animals end up losing their homes and their food from both sides. It's just a massive chain reaction.
Another really wild but harmful chain reaction comes from invasive species. This happens when humans, sometimes by accident, sometimes on purpose, bring non-native plants or animals into a brand new place. Since these new arrivals don't usually have natural predators there, they just spread rapidly. They compete directly with the local native species for food and space, and a lot of times the native species just end up disappearing.
Next on the list is pollution, and unfortunately, we see this one everywhere. The air we breathe, the water in our rivers, the soil in the ground, it all gets polluted with human waste. Plastic trash and harsh chemicals do serious damage to wildlife. When tiny organisms absorb that poison, bigger animals eat them, and the poison builds up as it moves up the food chain. Because of this, huge numbers of animals are getting really sick.
A very specific kind of pollution comes from pesticides and chemicals used in farming. Farmers spray these chemicals to kill harmful pests that eat their crops. But here's the catch. Those sprays don't know the difference between a bad bug and a good bug. They end up killing helpful insects too, and the chemicals wash right into the soil and water. Because of this, the pollinators we desperately need are becoming fewer and fewer.
So, quick question for you. Think about the gardens or parks near your house. Which insects are super important pollinators that get hurt by these chemicals? You guessed it, our bees and butterflies. Without them, a massive amount of the plants and food we rely on literally wouldn't be able to grow.
Okay, I know we just covered a lot of tough stuff, but let's pivot to the solutions, because there is absolutely reason to be hopeful. How can we actually protect nature? Well, first, we've got to protect the habitats we still have, like forests and wetlands. At home, you can stick to the classic rule: reduce your waste, reuse what you can, and always recycle. We can also get out there and physically help by planting native trees to restore those ecosystems.
Building on that, you can plant a few flowers to protect and feed those super important bees and butterflies. Inside, try to save water and make sure your trash actually goes in the bin to cut down on pollution. And to help fight climate change, walk, ride a bike, or take the bus instead of using a car whenever you can. Oh, and one more big rule: never, ever buy products made from endangered animals.
All right, last quiz of the explainer. What is the absolute best way you can help biodiversity right from your own home? Think about your daily routine. Yeah, it's the simple things like recycling, turning off the tap while you brush your teeth, or planting some bee-friendly flowers outside. As we wrap things up today, there's one core message I really want you to take away. Every single species is important. From a giant whale down to the tiniest little mushroom, biodiversity is what keeps our ecosystems healthy. Your small, everyday choices really do have the power to protect nature. If we work together, we absolutely can save plants, animals, and our amazing planet.
So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. You've got the knowledge now. You know why the Earth is full of life, and you know what's threatening it. So what can you do today, like right after this finishes, to help protect biodiversity? Just think about one small change you can make. Thanks so much for hanging out and exploring this with me. Stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.